One thing I realised when we were getting this booked in though is the last time you bleached your hair was literally the last time he came
I've done
up.
it again because Dan was coming on.
Yeah.
So I was like,
is there anything going on?
Yeah.
With you two that I need to know about?
I just try and peak when he comes.
Yeah.
It failed miserably.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's that peaking,
just failed.
I've been out of Plymouth for a while now, but I don't know what the fashions are.
I genuinely thought he was doing it to try and impress Craig Jones when we go to Austin, and then I realised that you were coming up, and I was like, okay.
I live my life now. If Craig does it, or then I'll do it. If it's good enough for Craig, it's good enough for me.
Has he bleached his hair, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it in Brazil.
Yeah. And if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So I'm living my life, mate.
Anyway, mate, welcome back to the podcast. It's been about 18 months, I think, since you were last in.
Yeah, it's not so long ago in our old age lives, but yeah, things have changed quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously last time we were the everyday perspective, but now the Grapplers perspective. So we've obviously changed a few things, but obviously since the last time we spoke to you, obviously the business looks like it's going well. You've released a couple of new products as well. So how is the soap business, mate? How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well. It's you guys will have experienced this as well with your journey in the podcasting. You have your ideas of where you want to go and what you're trying to achieve, and they'll change from season to season or year to year or whatever. And then you can roll with it and adapt with it and sort of go along where the tide's pushing you, or you can try and fight it. And things are going really well. So just been letting it go, I think when the last time I was up, I was thinking then about sort of infrastructure or routes for growing an actual company, rather, because the brand was going well and we established ourselves quite quickly, and we're really lucky that people find us authentic, so that was really good. So as a brand we established really quickly. I'm not looking to monopolize, just to be seen as an authentic sort of British company at the time. So that went well, and then trying to sort of grow it so that when we do take a step up, or when we did take a step up, it would be less of a painful transition. And that's happened 2 or 3 times now. So that's really good. Yeah, it's going really well. Like I said, from season to season or year to year, it will kind of change a little bit, whether I'm sort of looking at sort of global dominance or, just being a nice sort of profitable company that's authentic, that's helping people, that's loved by customers and UK grapplers, and then grapplers further afield, which I think we're doing. Just sort of seeing where it takes me, really. Have had offers of investment, some legit ones, some more formal than others. Had a guy that basically offered us global export, very well connected. And I was like, ooh, because it would have been mega money, mega sales, but wanted to, it would have meant changing the identity of the company a little bit. Needed to go 100% vegan with all our products. Now, the soap only has honey in it. I don't know if bees like making honey or not. Not for me to say, I suppose, but I don't factor in the feelings of bees that highly. I'm sure they're quite happy. So I was like, well, the honey I could take out of the soap's not a problem. But the tallow balm that we do, the beef tallow balm, I was like, morally or ethically, I think it's a side product, byproduct of meat, and I'm not going to stop meat overnight because it's cruel or whatever, because I don't think it is. Not all of it, not the meat I eat. So I was like, I don't really want to do that. The other side of it is that you can't just replace tallow with coconut oil, which is probably the next best thing in nature, and expect it to do the same thing, because it doesn't have the same lipid profile. And the amount of messages I get and feedback from customers saying the tallow balm, the soap, generally used together, has sorted my eczema, has sorted my psoriasis, rosacea or whatever it is. I get loads of those, regularly per week. I'm not going to stop doing that just for pound signs, because that's might be a good business decision for pounds in the bank, but I've always had a bit of an issue with people that sell out for money, just for money. And so I was like, I can't do that. I could present vegan options for, for every product. I'm quite happy to do it. But it was literally a case of, no, you've got to do this or it's a no-go.
Why though? Why has it got to be vegan?
I think it was the person I was speaking to at the time who I respect, good businessman, he said none of the global brands use animal products. It's just the way it is. And his personal opinion was that, he wouldn't be invested in a company that used animal products. So I said, look, that's cool. I said, my gut feeling is it's a no, because the whole brand is built on authority and integrity. And personally, I think if I let that slide, what are you left with apart from money? It might be a lot of money and maybe I console myself with that. But I was just like, no, I think it's a no. So we are where we are. We're growing well. We're growing pretty much organically. People like what we do. And I think if the reason for your success is that you are, authentic and you're trying to do the right things to the right people and it's received well, to change that to try and get some more money would be a mistake. So personally for me, that's where I was with that one. And some days you look at that and go, I don't know about that. But I had a good feeling about it right away. So
yeah, you gotta go with your gut, mate. I think, and you.
Your gut, mate. Like I think we spoke about it before. Your gut is a big thing, and people don't go with their gut anymore. Your gut, your second brain. It will tell you things about people and about situations that you should listen to a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a reminder of where your head should be sometimes. So
yeah, it's usually a bit of a subconscious intuition. I think.
Yeah. You speak about that a lot. The way with stuff like. You get, don't you? You kind of subconsciously know if it's a good or a bad deal,
Yeah.
It's your morals as well, isn't it? It's like if you're creating something and you believe in it, and you're just going to sell out and just give it all up, and it's not really your brand then anymore, is it?
No, exactly, and that that's all good. Thing is, it could have been an option that you say, okay, look, I'm not doing this brand, but I seem to be able to make better soap and better products than most people around. Definitely better soap. So maybe I do it with something else and there's a different vehicle for it. But this brand is staying true to its core and its inception, its beliefs at inception. I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah, good, mate. And that's why we enjoy working with you as well, because we see that, mate, and appreciate it so good. And our main audience is probably American.
Oh, yeah.
So I think someone asked us the other day who's interested in sponsorship, but I think on YouTube, I think we're around sort of 45-46% of our entire audience is American.
Wicked.
Versus the UK, which is more like sort of 30. So our main audience is actually the US now. So how is business in the US? Are you over the pond yet at all with it?
We can ship there. We do ship there. Obviously, the biggest issue with shipping to America is just the time. It's not a massive wait. 7 to 10 days. I think we ship there. There's different shipping options as well. So yeah, we do ship. We've got some very loyal customers out in North America, America and Canada. But yeah, it's definitely something we could do more of. Different ways of doing that. An option would be to sort of go with Amazon, which is, they're not your customers, they're Amazon's customers. That's what you got to remember. Or set up a shipping operation on the other side of the pond, possibly with a production operation. It's just time, a little bit of money. It's not, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. It's something I've looked into a few times. I don't know if I kind of chastise myself a little bit with being lazy. I'm not lazy because I'm always doing stuff, but it's easy to not do the jobs that you don't want to do, or you get a bit of cognitive dissonance, a bit of friction with. So yes, definitely something. There's a massive market there. It's literally 100 times bigger market for jiu-jitsu than the UK. So yes, it's definitely possible. And it's saturated, probably the wrong word because it's such a big market. There's a lot of competitors out there, but there's competitors in the UK and people choose our products for a reason. So, it's definitely possible. It's something I'd like to do.
Yeah, nice, mate. And then on products, I think the last time you were on, you were pretty much like soaps and hoodies. And
yeah,
and I asked you about a shower gel and you told me to go F myself.
I don't think I said that.
You literally said that. Well, you actually used that.
He nearly swore again, and didn't he?
You actually used the word.
I was about to literally go 3.
Yeah. So the body wash I didn't want to do. I was just like, no, it's soap and that's what it is. But also, like I said, that one person asking, two people asking, three people asking, like, no, we're not doing it. If there's a market for it and you're in the market of selling things to people that they want and need, then you should be trying to provide that. So I played with it. I had an idea of how I was going to do it. I couldn't get it where I wanted it to be, quality wise. And so I wouldn't release it. And then I realized that I was once again not doing the things I didn't want to do. So I approached it with three or four different directions, and found one that was really good. Sort of honed in on that a little bit in the same way that I develop all the products. And then we've got what we've got now, the body wash. And then I tweaked it a little bit to get the consistency better, and it's banging. Like I said, a lot of people will message me and say, I think the body wash is better than the soap. I use the soap, I've got to be honest. I do have the body wash, I do use it a little bit. It's spicier. I'll say that, if you coat yourself in that in the shower and leave it on for 30 seconds, it's like the old original sauce, but actually natural.
I was going to say the
good.
Mint original sauce. That's what it reminds me of. When I smelled it a minute ago, I was like,
yeah, but it's the same in the same way that I make all the products. There's no alcohol. There's no, if you read the list of my ingredients, there's no like big Latin words that you can't sort of. I don't know. I wonder what that is. I don't know. So it's really good, really natural. And people really like it. So. Yeah, it's cool. I'm glad I did it. Goes really well. Same as the Beast Balm. I made it in the same way that I made the soap. I was aching. I was using like a deep heat roll on, and I was like, "What am I putting on my body here? What am I putting into my bloodstream?" And I was like, "Right, how do I do this with like a natural or all organic list of ingredients?" Played around with it a little bit, relatively quickly. Got a really good option. It's better than what I was using before. So. I love that stuff, and I'm generally coated on it in 3 or 4 different parts of my body. You know what jiu-jitsu's like. So, yes, it's all going well. All that stuff's going really well. The body wipes, the same thing. It's essentially the same essential oils used in the soap and the body wash. They're brilliant. Take them to every grappling session. If you're going to go to the Karaoke for a pint or whatever after training, give yourself a wipe over the exposed parts with that, and you're probably not going to have things festering in little scratches and abrasions where staph or ringworm will take hold. So
mate, I could have done with that. The staph I had on my wrist, mate, was savage.
Horrible.
It's minging.
The downside of what I do is I get people send me photos of the skin all the time going, oh, look at this.
I wish I took a video of mine, mate, when it pops, mate. It'd have been you'd have loved it, mate. You'd have been like,
I don't mind stuff like that in person. Like I've had the misfortune to be involved in quite a few sort of first aid episodes, like with various sort of works and stuff. And I don't mind it in person. I've had someone's leg come off in my hand, and someone's head flapping open, they weren't alive anymore. And I just dealt with it because I was doing what I was doing. If I watch that on TV, I'm like, I can't watch it. I can't do it. So if I'm sat in my front room watching TV with the kids and I get a message and I'm like, what's that? And someone goes, oh, look how bad my staph is. Horrible.
So you don't watch Dr. Pimple Popper then?
I can't think of anything worse. My missus loves it.
Yeah, I think it's just a woman thing, mate. She loves it. I can't watch it. Have you ever watched it?
No.
It's minging, isn't it?
Horrible.
It's like
horrible. Yeah,
it's the worst. But shows though this sort of stuff, mate, for jiu-jitsu. I don't think people as well, especially when they first start jiu-jitsu, the first year, don't realise how important it is to get some good soaps, some good wipes. Because you do, like me, when I come from football, you never have skin problems. And then you go from that to something like jiu-jitsu and you're just like, yeah, I'll shower and that should be enough. And it's not.
Well, I was a rugby player and you always hear about smallpox. It's not smallpox, scrumpox, not smallpox.
What's scrumpox?
Scrumpox.
Impetigo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like same sort of thing like impetigo, which is essentially a cousin staph.
No, that's jock itch.
Get it from like stubbly heads and faces and stuff, and the friction and the sweat and the bacteria. But, it's fairly rare and it's generally only the front row that get it. So the pretty boys don't care about it. But jiu-jitsu, and I think the obvious thing that seems to have compromised a lot of people's autoimmune systems, staph and ringworm seems to have gone crazy in the last sort of 2-3 years, funnily enough, So maybe right place, right time.
Ringworm seems to be calming down a little bit. I don't want to touch wood. I don't know about that. It was rife for 2 years, constant, wasn't it, between us all, and then it's kind of calmed down, isn't it?
I think what it is we had a crap summer last year. When we get a real heat spell in April, May, June, a lot of gyms up north will be like, how fast can you get this to me? Because they do so much wrestling. Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's a load of wrong ones up there. I think it's something to do with wrestling, you know. But it just goes crazy. And when it's the heat, you know. You look at warm countries, tropical diseases, isn't it?
Yeah, I was literally thinking about Thailand because that was the first place I ever got staph.
Same.
And I heard...
I never got it, in fairness.
I was listening to Stuart Cooper's interview with Craig Jones. He did about 7 months ago. And I think he's based in Thailand when he's not traveling filming. And he was talking about staph infections, but they're so bad there, people will literally die from it.
That's mad, isn't it?
I know.
Fairness, I felt like I was going to die.
friend of a friend, they were like, "Oh, I'll send you a photo of his." I'm like, "Don't send me a photo." They don't want to send me a photo. I'm like, "What did you do that for?"
Just looking with one eye, like.
It was horrendous, and it was like all over him. I'm like, "What do you let him go to Thailand without taking a load of soap for?" And they're like, "I don't know. We did tell him." Whether they did or not, I don't know. But yeah, like I when I went out to Thailand the first time, I was just training. I was just using normal shower gel, and but then I was such a dope that I never made the association between using like a Lynx Africa and my skin being like, you know, itchy and flaky.
It's mad. I remember when I was like 15, I stopped using any sort of Lynx and stuff, and I had to move to like a roll-on or something, like a Dove sensitive roll-on, because I was using so much Lynx. Mate, the rash I used to get under my armpit was crazy. And I just, as a teenager, I just carried on. You know what I mean? Like thinking it's that. And then when I look back and when saying what you're saying, it's just the shit in the product, isn't it?
So this is another product I've got that I've made about, I don't know, 6 months ago or so. That's a natural deodorant because dented the tin already.
I'm a sensitive little soul.
Smell that. Yeah. And also like, I think 1 in 3 women will get breast cancer in their lifetimes now.
So what do you do with that? Just finger and just...
Yeah, take a little bit of your fingernail, rub it in. You could use a teaspoon or something if you don't.
Could you not put that into like a roll-on?
Yeah, I could do, but then with a roll-on, you've got to get the consistency liquid enough for the ball to pick it up at room temperature. But you've got to have it stable enough to keep the active ingredients emulsified, like suspended with it.
So is that why it's like hard to get natural ingredients into something like that?
It's not impossible because all you do is like, you know, I have that so it's like a solid state. You know, if it's warm, it will liquefy a little bit. But you just produce one that with ingredients where the base isn't solid state. So if I went for like a fractionated coconut oil or something like that would stay liquid. That would keep it suspended, but I just haven't done it yet because there's no call for it. But like I said, you know, 1 in 3 women getting breast cancer, and then you know nearly all those women are spraying an antiperspirant into their armpits, which is right next to your lymph nodes, right next to your boobs, and it's full of aluminium. Like antiperspirant, like the main thing that stops you sweating is the aluminium that blocks up your pores. Now, aluminium is a toxic compound, isn't it? So why would you spray that into your pores? And then not expect, unless you just don't know, which I would assume is...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's horrendous. I'll send another one up. I meant to bring 2, but I didn't know where my wife puts them. So I just went in the office and just raided it on the way out. So yeah, it'd be hell up later on when I go.
But yeah, no, I didn't know that. Did you know?
No.
I never knew that. I just assumed it was some voodoo magic, mate.
Yeah, but mate, I think the products are great, mate, and the wipes I've used a lot. I mean, we're quite fortunate at Flow because we've got really nice showering facilities.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do a bit of garage jits or we'll travel, and I always take them with me, mate, for that reason.
I'll take them everywhere. And also, like, you know, you go and someone butts heads a couple of times and you get a bit of blood or whatever, and just means just keep it on, wipe the blood off, and you're good.
Yeah. The soap, it looks like, I remember when you first brought it up, and it looked darker. Have you changed any of the ingredients in the soap at all?
I think I put slightly less oats in them now, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's probably
the oats do some, like, you know, you get people with eczema who, like, one of the old wives sort of tales tricks for it is to do oat baths, so like you know, tepid water and oats, and it's because they're what's the word, alkaline, so it's got a very calming effect for your skin. So it does have a slight alkaline effect, but I added the oats for the consistency, but it helped it to lather. But you know, the sizable bags that, you know, that we sell Yeah, and I tell all my customers this as well. They say, oh, you know, can I get some more of your size bags? I'm like, you can buy them off me at £3, or you can go on Amazon and get them for, you know, 10 for £3. So don't feel like you've got to buy them off me. It's just a convenience thing, because it does make it lather up loads and makes your soap last longer, and it's easy just to hang it up in the shower. You don't have to try and balance it on on a knob or whatever in your shower.
Oh. Where's the fun in that though, mate?
Danny's like an Otter's pocket over there now, isn't he? He's like, oh yeah, oh.
Getting revved up over here.
So these bags then, this is me being obviously a bit thick, but you actually put the soap in that and use it.
So I've had some class emails about this, because I talked about it somewhere, and they were like, that's what the Sizewell bags are for. And I was like, how are you using it?
I thought it was like a travel thing.
This guy was like, I'm not telling you how I was using it. But yeah, you take the label off, put the soap in, and I just rub it between my hands like that, and it lathers up, and then I just use my hands.
Right,
but
okay.
if you've, like I said, if you've been doing jiu-jitsu or whatever, and, you know, like a minging session or whatever, you just rub it over, so it exfoliates at the same time as, you know, so it's a bit of friction, it exfoliates, and it lathers the soap up, and then you just hang it up to dry, and it's like soap on a rope.
Yeah.
So on a rope.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I remember actually when we had Dr. Will Duffin on talking about the different conditions.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that he talked about, actually, the benefit of using soap or something with friction.
Yeah.
Is it just gets like more of the shit off your skin.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? You know, if you've, you know, I realised at one point, and like I said, it takes me ages to learn anything sometimes. I realised that I was washing my face, and I was just putting soap on my face and washing it off, which you think that's washing your face, but really rub it into your face, and then it's like, oh, lo and behold, your spots clear up.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually washing things properly, like you're trying to clean it.
I know, funny that, right?
Mental, isn't it?
Who knew? Mate, you should sell an instruction manual as well.
Caveman like you, mate, takes a while to learn that, you know what I mean?
And the Beast Balm's really good as well.
Yes.
I used to use like Tiger One previously, same as you probably, and that stuff feels as effective. And actually, there's been a few occasions if I've got like a bad neck, I'll stick it on before bed and just like relax in bed.
Oh, mate,
it's so nice.
I do put it on my lower back, bit on my knee right now, bit on my wrist. Yeah, and then give it 5 minutes, and you literally forget about the pain.
Yeah.
And then it'll be like 2.5 hours later, you'll remember that you're like, oh, that's aching again. You're like, oh, it's because the Beast Balm sort of chilled out a little bit. And you don't even have to reapply it. You can just give it a re-rub and it'll reabsorb. It is awesome stuff. And the same thing with the soap and the tallow and stuff. With, you know, if you see any of our adverts on Facebook for these products, the Beast Balm's got like 150 comments of people saying, oh, someone will tag their friend and they'll go, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, give it a try. There's a money back guarantee. You know, if you message me and say, I'd like my money back, you know, I've had it once with one product. And in fairness, they said, I don't think it was the product. And can I keep it in the fridge? And I'm like, look, just have your money back, keep it, give it another go, no problem. But then the comments are like, actually, I'm amazed at this stuff. I didn't think it was going to work. I was expecting to ask for my money back, and I love it. And that's for like arthritis, people with dodgy knees, dodgy hips, fibromyalgia, if I pronounce that right, all sorts of stuff that I'd never heard of. And people like, you know, I've been 20 years in pain, and this is the best stuff I've used. So that's really nice to, you know, to be making a few quid off something and to be helping people as well. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, mate, it's great.
Do you know the shampoo? Do you have a bigger bottle? Not shampoo, the body wash.
I was doing a bigger bottle. I have got bigger bottles called sumo size. But
perfect, mate.
Lovely.
Might as well be called Danny size.
They were a pain in the ass to post, and I didn't have the office space, so I've still got all the bottles in my unit. So yeah, I can do that. It's ready to go. It's just I need to literally change the visibility on the.
Can you change the name to Danny size?
Danny size, yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
One of the things I mentioned to you before, and I don't think you were keen on it, but is obviously dispensers and dispenser packs for this stuff.
It's not that I'm not keen.
Don't think there's a market for it.
Not that there's not a market for it, just that there's other stuff I know I need to do and that I'm concentrating on. And so if someone said to me, oh, I'd love to have this in my gym and put it in the dispensers, maybe it's because I'm, you know, using a bit of scarcity mindset. If it was my gym and I put that in dispensers, like see just lads be like, pop, 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 just rinsing it. And so unless you're like, you know, Roger Gracie in his gym in London, I don't think many people are going to be like, oh yeah, give me 150 quid for body wash for the dispensers. And
yeah,
but yeah, no, I definitely would do. And it's like anything. If there's a demand for it, and it's worth doing, I'll do it.
Yeah, and that was my experience of it. It was at Hydrogracy Academy in Moorgate, so it was quite a high end, posh facility. But I guess that's what I'm thinking about is London facilities. Obviously, like Fion's just opening this new place, Armour, is it called? I think. I don't know if it's worth a conversation there, mate.
Love a conversation with Fion anytime.
Yeah. But it's I think it's a nice touch. But you're right. I think 90% of clubs just aren't going to be able to do it.
Well, most jiu-jitsu gym, like places don't even have showers, do they?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Loads of places you go, there's just halls or just a room with mats in it. So.
Yeah.
Fair. The tallow balm, what do you use that for?
So I used to use, I'm a bit of a fanny, I used to use like 4 different moisturizers. I'd have one for my feet, I'd have one that I'd use on my face, like a, Clinique M lotion that seemed to fit my skin quite well. And then I'd use like a cocoa butter or the one with the aloe in it on my skin. And then I started to look into tallow. Like I said, I'm heavy on carnivore for my diet. And I was like, well, this looks pretty good. I looked at why it works, like it's nearly identical to the sebum, the moisture your skin produces. The lipid profile is almost identical from beef tallow because it's essentially what's, in that cows produce. And so when you put that on, if you get out of the shower and you've got some dry skin on your shoulders, on your feet, or on, I get a little bit here occasionally, especially like friction and stuff, training, you get like, bumps and stuff. Get out slightly damp skin, you get a little bit of that tallow on your thumb and forefinger, just rub it in your feet or whatever, dry shoulders, and it just changes it. It's done, whereas when you use like a moisturizer with, a list of ingredients that long in tiny writing that I can't read anymore, it just does nothing after like half an hour and you have to keep reapplying it. So, it's really good. They're little tins, same as a Beast Balm tin. I use it for everything, bang it on my feet after every training session or whatever. One of those lasts me about a month and a half. So really, for, I think it's like either 12 or 15 quid for a tin, you look at that compared to the size of what you get for £2 in Aldi or in Sainsbury's or whatever, but that'll last you a week and that'll last you a month and a half, and it's good, because everything you're putting on your skin, you're putting into your body, essentially. So why would you want to put, a list of ingredients that long in tiny writing into your body? It just doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. I think we need to look at skincare the same way we look at food, and the same way we look at entertainment. It's what you're putting in your head. It's what comes out of your thoughts and your actions, isn't it? So that's how I look at it. People can do what they like, and it's the same thing with with every single product I do. If people aren't 100% happy, they can have their money back, no questions asked. But the feedback on the tallow especially, just out of this world. I couldn't have hoped for such good feedback and the sales of it. So yeah, really happy with it. Really, really like it.
Yeah, great, mate. No, I wasn't sure it was like meant to be a moisturizer. So
yeah, it essentially is, but it's it's a bit more than that. But
yeah.
I get people messaging me saying, "Oh, it's got rid of my athlete's foot," and I couldn't find anything to shift it. Well, that's pretty cool. But that's again, it stays essential oils again, just at work,
Yeah.
So you put it on your face as well, you said, yeah?
Well, you're going to say something about my face now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, because it doesn't block your pores. So nothing in it's comedogenic, i.e. like it blocks your pores. So nothing in it will block your pores and make you spotty, but at the same time that it's moisturizing and not blocking your pores, it's got the antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial ingredients in the essential oils that are all working. So they kill the spot, creating bacteria at the same time as moisturizing. So you're getting like a real double whammy with it,
Yeah, nice.
Because you find a lot of times if you've got dry skin and then you moisturize, you get horrible spots and stuff. And it's like, do I want to be spotty or do I want to have a flaky face? And you don't have to choose,
That's a shit choice, isn't it?
That's a shit choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, decent. Mate, and I know you work with a number of athletes sponsoring them. Obviously, we talked about Ash Williams earlier, who's one.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the athletes that you've got that you're supporting at the moment, and if there's any in particular that people should be watching out for.
Got loads now. It's so cool because when I first started, I was like, I don't know if I can really afford to sponsor people here with products. And then we started doing well. And I think the first couple of sponsored athletes I got were customers of mine that have been with me from the very start that were competing at a decent level. I was like, how about we just give you this stuff for free and you can rep it however you want. I don't want it, you don't have to represent us on all your kit. But we were really lucky with people wanting to help out. So started with that. The ones, so without, because whenever I talk about this, I'm like, oh, have I left someone out? The ones that I mention are the ones that are sort of the most proactive at the minute or have been lately. So, you know, like Gav Stewart and Matt at 10th Planet in Banbury, you know, on Polaris. Abraham Danan, guy from sort of Manchester area, really nice guy, really active guy. He put a video out about a year ago of him doing some boxing. And I was like, oh, I thought he was just a grappler. Had one MMA show, one at pro. He's a brown belt, but really good wrestler. He's sort of on the Polaris sort of what's it like, the pre-show or the prelims or whatever. I think Jade Barker's doing that as well. Shay Williams, who I mentioned before, youngster, I think he's 15 now. He just had his first, is it B-Rules or whatever it is, MMA? Essentially adults MMA, you know, at what, 15? And won in like rapid time. So, you know, the same armbar, essentially, I saw him doing as a 13-year-old.
Crazy.
In Bristol, and was like, wow. You know, the guy will be, you know, a major champion, I think. Yeah, people like that. And then there's the guys that are, you know, sort of competing at, you know, blue or purple or whatever, and just out there doing the slightly smaller shows or whatever, you know. Got guys that are up training with Tom Aspinall, which is nice to see when, you know, you see photos of people that you know a little bit and sponsor, and they're doing big rounds with Eddie Hall, who's preparing to fight, what's he called?
Pudzianowski, isn't it?
Pudzianowski. I'm like, that's a shame.
It's mental, isn't it?
Pudzianowski isn't, he isn't Thor, who's a massive guy that, you know, learnt to do a bit of blue collar boxing at the same time as Eddie Hall. Pudzianowski's done some legit MMA, and it is an absolute animal. Not that Eddie Hall's not an animal, but you know, it's like jiu-jitsu. You can't just go, I'm going to learn some jiu-jitsu for this fight in a year's time. There's levels to everything, and in jiu-jitsu it's very apparent.
I think Pudzianowski's had at least 20 MMA fights.
Yeah.
He's seasoned. He's a seasoned fighter now. He's a lot older though, in fairness.
I looked at it about 5-10 years ago. I can remember seeing that he was doing MMA, and I looked, and there were people sort of, you're always going to get detractors, people saying, oh, well, this was a Mickey Mouse show, or that was a Mickey Mouse show, and maybe he had a few easy fights or whatever, but he's legit. There's no way you can't say he's not legit, and you know, he's a beast. So that'll be interesting. Like, best of luck to Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to the outcome of that.
Did you see the fight when he fought the two twins?
That was so weird, wasn't it?
It's the same with anything, and you know, I'm sure we'll touch on, you know, where the sport is, and you know, and all that sort of stuff. But it's entertainment at the end of the day. And the funny thing about that is, my initial thing is like, oh, circus, right? And then these two little lads were like gobbing off to him, weren't they, before the fight? Like I don't know if it was all for show, but they were gobbing off. And it's not someone to gob off to, is it? And he just smacked the one with like a little short arm, didn't he? Just like clotheslined him. And then the other one he just picked up and threw him on his back.
Mate, he like, it was like a suplex into just a throw. It just
reminded me of like an old style, like Tom and Jerry cartoon, like just slamming someone where they just,
and then the other one come
dead.
running back in, he just knocked him unconscious, he just stuck his arm out and the guy was out like a light.
Because it's, you do, it's good. My opinion on things changes quite a bit, and you'll see, like, you know, again, like the BJJ Nerd Assassins and stuff, and you roll with someone who's like a really high level guy at like 60 kilos, and you're like, holy, like, I've got 30 kilos on this guy, and like, how? But then, like, it's a bit different if you know, you've got like a 6'5" world's strongest man who's gonna punch you as well. You know, it's you know, there's a time and a place for being a nerd assassin. And I would say it's when you're covered in spandex on a matted floor in a safe environment, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's no getting away from that power. So, he's just a giant of a man.
It's all very well being a, you know, a top competitor in the world at you know, 62 kilos or get whatever. But when you've got like a 6'5" rugby player who's 18 stone and couple of pints on board and swinging from the hip, it's I'm not saying that they're going to beat that guy, but it's a different ball game then, isn't it? You know, there's a different rule set, and you don't know what rules people are playing by in the street. Everyone's got their own idea of what is called for at that time, and yeah, it's generally not okay. No striking and no outside reaping. Or whatever these rules are that I don't understand. I'm like, can I do this? And Coach generally like, no. I'm like, cool.
It's a funny time at the moment with the rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, because so many people are watching like CJI and all these pro events, you know what I mean? And obviously like lower belts are doing pro events now.
Yeah.
But then obviously you've still got all these rule sets in IBJJF. We had an intra club at Flow on Wednesday.
Intra-club?
Intra club.
Intra-club?
Intra club opposed to an inter club.
Say that again.
So there's a Plymouth Inter Club's coming up in what, a couple of weeks? About a week and a half?
2 weeks.
Yeah, so for team selection and as prep, we ran an intra club at the club the other night, and the amount of lads that were reaping and getting themselves disqualified.
Yeah.
Like these sort of white and blue belts just throwing their arms up in the air in absolute disgust because they just got disqualified for reaping. And it's a funny one with the rules. But what do you make of like the scene at the moment with jiu-jitsu?
It's interesting because everybody's got their own thing that they like. You know, talking from people that are in jiu-jitsu, doing jiu-jitsu. And it goes two different ways as well. There's what you like doing and what you like watching. I like doing jiu-jitsu. I don't like the sport rules. I don't like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I know there's a reason for it. It's so you're not getting like white belts snapping tail holds on each other and heel hooking each other, and then everybody's got to have 2 years off and got a dodgy knee forever. I get it. But also like when you're rolling with someone, and we were laughing about it last night actually, or the night before last. We were training a couple of months ago. I was rolling with a young blue belt, I think it was. And the rule was I could only attack legs. It was like high belts could only attack legs. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I went to do the move of the day, and I was literally doing the move of the day. And I thought, oh, I'm doing the move of the day. And I could see Mark watching, the coach. And then this guy's leg just popped up in front of me, and I just went, pump, just tail-holded him. I didn't pump it or anything like that, but he tapped. And Mark just looks, he always just saying, looks at me, like this. I was like, and he goes, that's a brown belt move. So obviously it's a purple belt. I was like, oh, cheers, mate. And he goes, no, it's a brown belt move. I went, yeah, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. That's really cool. And he goes, no, you can only do a brown belt. So I was like, no, I just did it. He just walked off, shaking his head. So yeah, what I like to watch, you know, I'm not massively into sport jiu-jitsu. I like grappling, you know. The thing I like doing is generally more of the catch wrestling stuff. You know, my own flavour of grappling that I like and that works for me as a bit of a bonehead is the more basic, you know, catch wrestling stuff that, you know, I buzz off a lot of Eric Paulson and Baz Rutten videos from way back that a lot of people in sport BJJ have kind of forgotten about because it worked then so effectively that everybody took that on and then learnt to counter it. And then everybody's moved on so much that if you try this stuff that people have forgotten about, you know, like there's a really good video on YouTube, and it's like an Aussie jiu-jitsu black belt, and it's like the Kezukatami kill system. I was like, that's a spicy title. This could go one or two ways. It's really good. And it's effectively the position that Josh Barnett beat Dean Lister with when Dean Lister was like 15 fights unbeaten.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that, mate. That was mental.
And he got him in like Scarfeld, and then just did a diaphragm choke and like cooked him, and he was done. And you know, people will say it's more of a crank. It's not a crank. You collapse in the chest so that you don't have pressure on the diaphragm, so they can't get any air in. It's a choke, you know. It's so legit. That's probably my favourite position.
That's done well. It's horrible, isn't it?
So good. It's so good, so effective. And you do get the odd person that's really good at escaping Scarfeld. So you have to okay, noted. You know, maybe that means my position isn't good enough, but we'll keep working it. But yeah, I love all that. You know, like you ever seen like the catch again, Billy Robinson's double wrist lock, the power Kimura that people call it now.
Yeah.
So you essentially, you're coming through and, you know, like you're taught to pick up a Kimura, you know, you fold your palms over like that and you come onto your other there, and then, you know, you isolate. That's, again, Mark showed me a really good tip that makes it, you know, really, really much more effective is just to walk the elbow out to isolate the shoulder, and then you move your body through. It's so effective. And, you know, if you get like a big dumbass like him or me that's strong and might have sneakily held onto their shorts or whatever, that double wrist lock, you know, the catch power Kimura, it doesn't matter if they've got all their shorts. It's there's that much leverage in it applied that, you know, you're getting it. It's really cool. That's the kind of stuff I like. So I think the way the sport's going at the minute, you know, CGI got to be a good thing for the growth of the sport. Whether people don't like that sort of in your face way of watching BJJ, or they don't like the way the sport's going, I think it's good. And it's good even if you don't like that, because say that side of the sport goes down that route, well, there may be ADCC or, you know, one of the other ones, and has growth to say, oh no, we're going to stick more to our roots here. We're going to not be such a spectacle. We're going to be more of a purist thing, you know. And then maybe you have one that's more like, you know, an American sort of, you know, like a Super Bowl, you know, crowd event. And then you have one that's more like when you have a pride crowd that are all sort of sitting there watching quietly. Like I'm sure if you looked at like a Polaris or whatever, you know, it's people that are in jiu-jitsu watching it because they appreciate jiu-jitsu. But it's bringing more eyeballs, it's bringing more money. It's going to provide more opportunities for people to be, you know, based in jiu-jitsu. You know, like we were chatting about, where, you know, people that are professional BJJ athletes that are doing seminars, coaching, doing all this, they're wearing all these different hats. There may be people that just, no, I am an athlete. So yes, it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? And the rule sets, like I said, I generally don't understand a lot of the rule sets, and you don't hear a lot of good things about IBJJF. There must be good things about it, otherwise it wouldn't exist anymore. But you can't wear those shorts because they've got too many colours on them, or you can't, like, your badge on your gi jacket is too high. It's like, what, you're going to lose a fight because your badge is too high on your gi jacket? It's like when you go to judo and you can't wear a gi with a logo on it or whatever because it's BJC or whatever it is. You know, it's like, come on. I get as well, there's no good or bad. There's nothing that's solely good or bad, you know. It's good in the bad and bad in the good. So the argument for, you know, that way of doing things is that we're traditional and we're honouring our heritage and we're keeping it as that, so it doesn't degrade into something that's just like you know, wrestle jitsu grappling, which is cool. You know, you could argue that judo's maybe lost its way a little bit with that because they tried to preserve it as a spectator sport for the Olympics. So when they took the leg attacks out and stuff like that, because they found that it was getting to sort of people hunched over, I think it was attacking, going for legs. So, you know, I'm not well versed enough in judo or the politics of it to really qualify an opinion on that. But I think it's good if, you know, say if you have the same sport and you can do this rule set, and this is how it's presented and this is how spectators can watch it and it's online, good. If there's big prize money in that, then good, you know. And then maybe that then creates a market for people that don't want to do that or don't want to watch that. So essentially it's got to be a good thing. Yeah,
I think so, mate. It's a couple of interesting points there. I think the first one is obviously with IBJJF, it's obviously still very popular.
Yeah.
I spoke to a couple of people about this recently, but I think 6,000 people at Euros. So the biggest ever event. So yeah. It shows that the sport is growing, both in that sort of traditional gi sense as well as the no gi sense as well. I agree that I think some of the rules are a bit daft. I mean, imagine if you saved all year, if you are like an aspiring athlete, you've saved all year, you've flown out to Worlds, and then you get DQ'd in your first match because your sleeve's too short.
But then, you know, if the rules are the rules and the rules don't change, then you need to learn the rules and you know, arrive with the right kit and, you know, the right mental preparation. So I agree with stuff like, your gi slightly too light or whatever. Like, yeah, it's a bit daft, isn't it, like you say?
Yeah, but again, I guess it creates that same, it's fairness for everyone then though, isn't it? Because like, if you are using, you know, grips and stuff and they've got a short gi, makes it loads harder. Yeah. You know, and that's the truth of it, isn't it? Or if it's too baggy, you can't get the same grip. So it's got to be it has got to be some sort of, it's the same for everyone then. Maybe like, it's a hard one, isn't it? Like DQing them is harsh, isn't it? But like you said, if you're going to spend all that money, like at least get your gi right, you know, get it fitted, get it right, you know, because Stupid. I think with IBJJF, it's the prestige of it, and it's the fact that you're going to get a medal saying you're the best in the world or the best in Europe. And as long as they're monopolising that, they'll always monopolise it. You know, it doesn't matter that you know people are paying for that. You know, no matter how good you are, you know, you've got these top guys, you know, professionals in other, you know, in no-gi, but if they're still transferring over to the gi, they're still paying because they want the prestige of being like, oh, the best purple belt in the world or the best brown belt in the world, you know? That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they'll put up with the rule sets and the crap because they just want the prestige.
Well, when you say about like the silly rules and, you know, a lack of preparation, someone was saying about Gordon Ryan when he said he was going to do it 1 year and he never does it. And he, you know, like the reaping thing, he like literally sent them a video apparently of, right, this is how I'm attacking this and I'm setting out with the saddle, but I'm not going to touch this leg now. I'm going for this one. Is this legit? And they were like, yeah, there's no problem with that. So when he went, he made sure all the referees had been shown it, and then he was just smashing everyone with the same thing because he'd taken the time to understand a rule set and exploit it. And other people obviously didn't to that level. Or maybe they didn't, and maybe he's just, you know, better. I don't know.
I think the only people I feel sorry for in those sorts of situations, like you said, like the hobbyist who's probably, you know, not massively clued up on all the rules, you know what I mean? And they want to go out there and just do some jiu-jitsu and they reap or they do something stupid and it's like, yeah, okay.
But then it's like, you know, if you're a hobbyist and you know, you manage to get to the Olympics and you full follow the rules, it's like, that's the Olympics, isn't it? If that's the Olympics of BJJ, then, you know, talking about Olympics in BJJ, that sort of comes up, doesn't it? And I was thinking on the way up about it, you know, because memes are generally like a good indicator of what's going on culturally, and a lot of the time you find that they're more accurate than the news headlines. So memes are a really interesting thing for me. But, you know, sort of thinking about like you'll see the memes of the different brackets of what people are. And there's one the other day with underpants, like, look at what underpants you wear and it's what type of
yeah, I've seen that. You posted.
Yeah. And like, I was like, I wear those and it was like wrist locker. And I was like, there, you got me. I'm wrist locks and punch chokes all day. But yeah, like the TRT dad, you know, there's all the ones at the minute, like seemed to be a lot of athletic blue belt ones for a while. Now it's sort of 40 plus TRT dad v athletic blue belt. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it got me thinking about like steroids in BJJ because it's such a sort of contentious issue. You're talking about what organizations allow what people to do, you know, and I always think back to like Pride in the old days being like the Wild West, where it was like, do what you want, we in this pot, we're not going to do anything with it, right? And then the UFC trying to be legitimate in America as a, you know, a sport and not violence was like, right, we're going to drug test. And then that went through different iterations and, you know, of being harder to cheat. I think there's the market for drug tested BJJ, and the reason that people would say it can't be done is because of money. But powerlifting has drug-free powerlifting where they test people. I know guys that compete in powerlifting, natural freaks, look like they're on all the gear in the world, like genuine. I know the guy's clean, and they would drug test him at every event, and he was like, I'm clean, and they drug test him at every one. So if they can do that in powerlifting where there is no money, then how can't they do it in BJJ? Unless people don't want to watch it.
Yeah, no, I think it's more they don't want it. It's no benefit to them to get their top guys out of the sport effectively.
But they do in IBJJF. You know, we've seen a number of.
Oh, okay.
They
normally
at the top, don't they?
They the podium winners. So that and there was a bit of a joke. I think Owen Jones was talking about it. It's funny just looking at the IBJJF podiums to see who's missing.
They're missing, mate. Yeah. It's so funny, mate, because they run off before they get piss tested, mate.
So you can always tell who's on gear by that alone, mate.
I think he got popped for it, didn't he? Cyborg
did, yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Well, I think even Mika Gaval did as well. And that was all as a result of competing in IBJJF. Yeah, come on.
Never. Dum, shocker.
I saw a post the other day, like I said, of Marcelo, obviously Garcia, saying that he never lifted weights and never did steroids. Like, yeah, cool, fair. Like, but imagine, you know, and I was listening to the pod you did with Sebastian the other day, and, you know, he was saying about flexibility, and I can't remember if he said he lifts as well, but I think a lot of that does relate to your own personal, you know, your personality and your personal style of grappling and what you like to do. Like I like lifting weights. It's armor for young men, isn't it? I know I'm not a young man anymore, but I still like to look a bit more like a tank than a coat hanger, you know. But imagine if you had Marcelo Garcia and he had a strength and conditioning coach. It's like saying, you know, when you look at like professional rugby players and professional footballers, and you had a professional rugby player that trying to equate to jiu-jitsu, and you say, right, so you're a top level athlete in this sport that is sport X, which we'll say is rugby, but could be grappling. Okay, yeah, right, okay, this is what you're doing on Monday, strength for strength. You know, if that's rugby, it's like, no, you are lifting weights on Monday, Lofty. Do what you're told. But obviously jiu-jitsu, we don't have that. It's looser and we're all doing our own thing. So, you know, and that's not to say that Marcelo Garcia should have been lifting weights. And it's definitely not to say Marcelo Garcia should have been on steroids. It's just to say that although that might be the best thing for him because he doesn't want to be heavier, he doesn't want to be slower, he likes not doing weights, it doesn't suit his personality, whatever it is. Yeah, everybody's got their own idea of what they want to do. We're not always right about that because I know that, you know, sometimes if I try and keep my cardio at work doing some like horrible like incline stuff, which is like fairly low intensity, but you can get a good sweat on, get your heart rate up. But it doesn't matter how fit you are when you grapple and you haven't rolled in 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, you're breathing, you know. I went for a session week before last, and it was like wrestling warm-ups. And you know, I was training like mostly white belts and blue belts and stuff, and starting from turtle and then wrestling up, and I was like, okay, cool, easy work, nice. Oh God, I was blowing, and I was like, that's not rolling, you know, because it's so different. But imagine like how much harder it would have been if I was, you know, weak.
No, I mean, I completely agree, and that's why jiu-jitsu is so far behind. It's from like how many top coaches you hear about, oh, nutrition doesn't matter and S&C doesn't matter like that. It's all about skill. It's all about technique. But these guys, if they were doing strength training along with their technique work, you know, it's always going to benefit them. Like getting stronger is never a weakness.
Strength is never a weakness.
Yeah, like getting stronger is not going to make you worse at jiu-jitsu in any situation. No. It's going to help you with injuries. It's going to help you with all sorts of stuff. And you don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to be doing what we were talking about earlier, like 5 days a week. But a good S&C program and a good strength training program and watching your food and your nutrition and taking some creatine and forget steroids. Like I think as well, if jiu-jitsu wants to go like mainstream, I think as a culture, it needs to change. I don't think you can keep pumping steroids in because I think like Espen made a great point about his daughters and saying that he wouldn't want them in a sport where they had to do steroids to be a top level athlete. Yeah. And when I thought about that, I thought about that with my son. Like if he got really good, you know, and then he was like kind of forced into a way where he had to take steroids to be at the top of the sport. You know, I would definitely encourage him not to do that, you know, because of his health.
Yeah.
And I think like, you know, realistically, the top of the sport should go clean. You know, we can't stop dickheads like us doing it, but
I think the women's will be leaps and bounds ahead of the men's for clean.
Yeah, of course they will.
It's not that you're not gonna look at Fionn and go, oh, she's smashing in 10 grams of test a week, you know?
Yeah.
You know, Cyborg is a different matter, you know, Gabby, I don't know, but Fion's a different thing, you know.
I'd just like to see all the top grapplers who would still be the top grapplers if you took it all away. You know what I mean? Because it's a different ball game then, isn't it? It's like, you know, professional football or rugby or something. You know, they're drug tested, so they're always checked on those sort of parameters. And you know, it's not always fair, but natural physical freaks, they should get the credit they deserve for being natural physical freaks.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, he's ridiculously fit at 40 years old. He's not taking any steroids, any performance enhancers because he's drug tested constantly throughout his life, right? He's naturally that sort of like athlete, you know, but you can match him if you're not as good as him if you're taking steroids. And it's not, you know, you can get there through taking drugs. Maybe not for the same amount of, you know, longevity as what he is, but you can get there for a short amount of time. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, it's not quite fair.
The problem I've got with it is that, say, looking at it at grassroots, you know, say if you were going to go and compete as a 40-year-old blue belt in the Masters 3 or Masters 4 or whatever. I don't know what bracket that is. I know I'm Masters something. But say you were, you know, a 40-something blue belt, purple belt, whatever, brown belt, and you go and compete, and then you're clean, and then you're grappling against someone that is using tons of gear, so they're recovering so much faster.
Mate, even TRT. Even TRT.
Yeah. So it's like, but then those people, it shouldn't be that those people can't compete either. So that's where I think it would be good, where you have like a clear sort of delineation of like, look, this is a drug tested natural event, this one's not. Because, for some people, I know it's a bigger thing in America than it is in the UK, but TRT, it's doing great things for blokes.
Yeah. Mate, I'm on it.
How much better do you feel?
Yeah, 10 times.
10 times better. So you recover. You don't, because I'm old enough I'm young enough that I can smash most 20 and 30-year-old blokes that I train with. Feel good about it. Not be a dick, not just like ego rolling, whatever, but if I want to put it on, I can put it on. And I can do that for an hour or two. And then I wake up the next morning, I'm old enough to know about the next morning. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Something that wouldn't have touched me, as a 20-year-old. And I can remember looking at it when I always think about this. When I was 38, and I made a little mental note of it. I'm 38, and I was looking at posts saying, Masters only comp, or Masters only bracket, or BJJ for over 40s. And I was like, oh God, what a bunch of pussies, right? Why have you got to compete against old people? Like, just beat up the youngsters. And then when I was 42, I saw a post like that again and went, oh, like my body just changed in that sort of 4 or 5 year period. When I was like, the recovery. It's because as a 20-year-old, you can go balls out twice a day, feel great about it. Yeah, okay, if you get a bit banged up, you get a bit banged up no matter how old you are, but you recover quicker and your tissue feels better. Whereas as a 42-year-old or 43-year-old, or now nearly a 44-year-old, I'm like, now I'm sore as hell because I was just drilling high chest mount. I had someone sat on me for like 5 minutes that weighs 95 kilos.
Mate, it's the only sport though that expects people at 40 to beat 20-year-old athletes, It's the only sport. You don't expect Wayne Rooney, with what he's like now at 40, to go back in the Premier League and play. It's true, you know what I mean? But because they've got a belt around their waist and they've got a bit of a prestige when they were 25, they're still expected to perform, right up into their 40s and even beyond that, isn't that? And there's only a few outliers, again, who are juiced up that are able to still perform in that. Like Cyborg is an absolute monster, mate. I seen a picture of him and I thought, fuck me, he's incredible. But what's he putting in his body to get that?
It was a point that Ash Williams made on the podcast when he was talking about it, where he was saying that jiu-jitsu is like the only sport where the coach is expected to be able to fill in and murder the students. In what other sport would the coach be expected to be better at the sport than the actual athletes? So I think there's a degree of pressure on black belt coaches to maintain that ability to be considered any good.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I can only speak for myself, but I think more people get on a bit of TRT level test for the longevity and the health benefits than they do for the amount of people that are going to the normal gym that are just lifting weights that go, what's he doing? And then they're banging in, like, they go, oh, what are you doing? I'm doing test and deca. I'm doing
taking some tren.
What shall I do? Oh yeah, get test deca tren. That'll make you feel good. You'll recover really quick. Oh cool. What do I put in? Oh, put a gram of this and 500 of that in. And people that are just blasting tons of really bad, really androgenic steroids, which are not great for your body, which are not great for your head. You talk about tren. I know some people that have done that, and that,
different people, mate. Creates different monster, that does.
Yeah, like, not for me, that,
Yeah.
And then, it's a bit different again, like you say, when you look at people that are, doesn't matter what it is, but, alcohol. Look at people that use a little bit of alcohol. They enjoy a glass of red wine, every other night or whatever. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they turn into the people that are drinking a glass every night and then 2 glasses a night and then it's a bottle a night, and then they realise that, or they don't realise, and it becomes a bit of a crutch. But people who use things in the way that they're beneficial, and it's the same with everything, isn't it? Nicotine, really good drug, really good nootropic, but nicotine in cigarettes, not great. Everything's open to abuse, even the most healthy thing in the world. It's open. You can abuse it. You kill yourself drinking water. So yeah, you can overdo it on everything, and every style of training you can overdo it.
One thing I've observed with TRT is there's definitely a degree of like gym pressure, I think, as well. You talked about that TRT doing wonderful things for men and like their health, and it absolutely does. But I've definitely seen occasions in the past where one lad in the gym will get on it and starts performing a bit better on the mats.
There you go.
And then someone's like, what you changed? And it's literally like, microdose, like, the correct medicinal dose of TRT. And then one other guy goes and gets it, and everyone gets it. And was there symptoms there beyond just getting choked that they actually needed it? And I've seen that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Legends.
Chatting to someone the other day, and they said, I'm aching, getting older. And I said, have you looked at TRT then? And he said, oh yeah, I got tested, but my test isn't low enough. So what did he say? He said, I think I might run some Anavar and get tested again. I was just like,
amazing.
hey, that's like ingenious. But I'm like, yeah, okay, you do it. Not for me. Like, whatever.
Yeah, it's nuts. And before that, we were talking about obviously the scene in general and CJI. Obviously, we've got the squads coming up soon. When we were chatting about ideas for discussion today, I thought it might be a good idea to attempt doing CJI dream teams, because there's obviously you've got the fixed teams with like the associations or the clubs, and then you've got the misfits teams.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on what like?
You should have prepped me for this, mate. I would have come on here with a little.
Mate, I sent you the questions an hour before, mate.
An hour, yeah. While I was at fucking football.
I'm gonna have to go with an all-time one.
Yeah,
for me.
But I think that's the best shout, certainly for you and I that have been around it for a while, just the old timers.
So what are we looking at? 5, is it?
5, yeah. Don't worry about weight classes.
Okay, so just off the top of my head, I did ask the guys about this because I was like, I would go with so number one for a reason, Billy Robinson.
Not sure I even know who that is.
The daddy of catch wrestling.
Right, okay.
Guy that changed Sakuraba.
Okay.
So number 2, Sakuraba.
Yeah.
Because what he did out in Japan. A lot of people go, oh, you're the Gracies, whatever. He beat them with, depending on what side of the stories you listen to, there's a lot of people saying that, when he fought Hoist, they changed the rules before the fight, and he was like, yeah, no problem. And then they changed the rules again. Now it's going to be this time limit, and you can't do this, you can't do that. He's like, yeah, no problem. So Sakuraba, Josh Barnett, another catch wrestler, bit biased. I do love jiu-jitsu. I look at it as grappling and not jiu-jitsu, because everything changes. If it was really jiu-jitsu, which is really judo, another contentious point, then we'd all be still doing the same thing that was, that Helio learned and taught to his boys, and it wouldn't have deviated, but it has deviated into wrestling, into catch wrestling. It's something different. So what's the third one there? So Josh Barnett. Who else was I going to go with there? Oh yeah, obviously Hickson. And then you got to go for Roger Gracie, haven't you?
Yeah.
I was about to say, it's got to be Roger in it.
Yeah.
You can't leave out Roger, can you? Because he's probably the GOAT, isn't he?
Yeah, I think
and,
so.
And you're talking about, when we're talking about size and strength and physicality and stuff, he's a big dude. So, people say, his mount is inescapable. I'm not saying that's because he's a big dude either, but he's a big dude, and he knew how to use his body. So, that's probably my 5.
I'll do yours then.
Mine?
Yeah, do yours.
Do you know what, despite coming up with that idea, I didn't actually give it much thought.
I thought I'd put him on the spot before he done it to me. I got a bit more time.
I was going to go with that.
But yeah, I think you've got to have a Hodger in there for sure. Definitely Hodger. I'd probably have Marcelo Garcia in there as well.
That was one on my list.
Yeah. Do you know, I was actually watching Stuart Cooper's video on the ADCC in 2011.
Yeah.
And just thinking about some of the athletes from that time.
Yeah.
And even like someone, I don't know, like Hussein Paul Harris.
So his name popped in my head because I was like, dirty bastard.
Yeah.
Like with his just not letting go on taps and stuff. Like,
is that big dude who used to just rip people's knees?
Yeah, he got banned from the UFC and then Bellator, I think. But he fought Andre Gaval in the final, in the 88 final at ADC's 2011.
Yeah.
And he was just ripping everyone's legs. And so
literally.
I was there watching it, as you know, and I remember this, and I saw it again on the documentary. But there was one poor guy that basically got caught in a really deep, like, heel hook. And he kind of rolled out of bounds.
Yeah.
And he was basically like roaring in pain as they rolled out. They restarted him in the same position in the middle of the mat.
Mate.
And he just broke his leg, just snapped his leg. Horrendous. But, mate, he was just such a specimen, mate.
Yeah, no.
He was just throwing
Apparently had quite a
around.
hard paper round, and that's why he's like he is.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah, he used to fight like you were trying to like steal his food. You know what I mean? He was just a savage.
Polish pit bull wearing bastard.
Yeah. So I'd potentially put him in there. So that's 3. I thought about Hickson as well. So that's 4. Just stealing all your ideas, basically, mate.
I like it, yeah.
And that's number 5. Bring back Eddie Cummings, innit?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, bring back Eddie, the Wolverine, mate. Get him in there.
That's your top 5 if you used to choose anyone.
On the spot right here and now.
No way, mate. It's like all old people, mate. Gordon's got to be in there.
Well, I guess
Gordon beat them all. Gordon beat them all.
I guess in my head, I'm thinking about like a Legends team.
Yeah, but even like, how are you not having Gordon Ryan in there?
Or a Cade Rotolo or whatever.
Like, yeah, that's what I was about to say. So like, Levi, like, Cade, Gordon. They're beating most of them. Yeah, but that's true though, isn't it?
Just get all the young lads you fancy, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, actually, Levi's another one in your hair, do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Part of a little like incel club in there or something.
He does paint his nails as well. It's a bit far, but
Is it?
yeah, it's a bit far.
First time I ever met you, you had a nose ring though. So
Yeah, I did have a nose ring. Yeah. It was pretty cool though.
you had a nose ring and a big like quiff.
It wasn't this big, mate.
It was, mate. I've still got the photo from your profile.
I had a little earring like here for about 2 hours, and I went and trained and taped it, and then after training, I was like,
So what made you put it there? Like, what was that? You thought, oh, I'm gonna look cool as fuck with
I
this.
just thought that'd be a bit different. I'll get one of those. Yeah. I've got a massive nose, so I'm not going to get a nose ring, am I? So.
Yeah, I got a massive nose, but I just thought, go with it.
Did you get that from the vets or?
Yeah, I had to, mate.
You're like, sounds busy in there.
Put it here, a ball ring.
But if you're going with your logic though, you could literally have like Gordon Ryan,
Yeah,
Felipe Pena,
I'd put Hodger in there.
like Victor Hugo, Hodger, and Nicky Rod. There you go. Top 5.
No, because I'm thinking of different like weight classes and styles as well, But Gordon's got to be in a top 5 of anyone's, hasn't he?
Of all time, yeah.
Like that's what I mean. Like,
BJ Penn.
Yeah.
yeah,
Eddie Bravo back in the day.
that's what I was about to say. Eddie Bravo, Marcelo Garcia. This is,
You said Eddie Bravo, and my brain went to Johnny Bravo. I was like, what?
Still thinking about the quiff, mate.
That's
What it is.
okay.
So yeah, wicked, man. Let's go back to your training, mate. You kind of touched a little bit on your training earlier. The last time we saw you, you were a blue belt.
Yeah.
He was a white belt. I was a purple belt, and we've all had upgrades since. So congratulations to all.
Yay.
Long overdue, I'm sure. But yeah, tell us about getting your purple belt. How did that feel?
So it was quite cool actually, because genuinely one of the happiest days of my lives.
Was it?
Yeah, which is ridiculous. As a married man with kids, and it's been around a little bit. So when I got my blue belt, I'd been training for like over 10 years, MMA, like on and off, but it was MMA, Jiujitsu, so never at a club, never sort of being graded or anything like that. So when I got my blue belt, like people were like, oh, sandbagger, and I was like, I don't want to be a blue belt. Give me a purple belt. I'll fight anyone. But blue belt for me was acceptance. Like you're in the club now with jiu-jitsu. And then I always looked at purple as being as a good standard. Like there aren't many crap purple belts. So I always had a lot of respect for purple and brown, obviously black. And it was quite funny. And I've told the boys as well that were there as well. So I'd been thinking about it in my head. I was like, what do I need to do to get promoted to purple belt? And I was like, obviously I'm going to continue to get better at the things that I like, but I need to really brush up on my fundamentals and bits that I don't like, that I know I don't like when I'm weak at. I need to make sure that I have a guard game, that I can do this, I can do that, I can defend this, defend that. So I started to really work on that. And when I got my blue belt, it was around the same time that I really started to understand how things worked fundamentally. So before, when I was like a fairly effective, physical white belt that had done MMA, I knew how to do wrist locks, I knew how to do shoulder locks, but I never really understood the mechanics of them fundamentally. And then when I can remember one wrist lock, I was like, that's why that works. So if I'm attacking this joint, I'm controlling the one below it and I'm manipulating the one above it to attack that joint. So I was like, right, okay, so that's how that works, that wrist lock. That's how that works with that shoulder lock. That's how that works with that arm lock, that leg lock, whatever. All right, that's interesting. And then I started being able to pick up wrist locks from different positions than rather than you just seeing something on Instagram. Like, okay, cool, you're being taught something. I can do that now because I've got taught it. I know that movement pattern. Right, okay, I know I'm going for that joint. So what about if I do it this way? And then, so I was just thinking, okay, right, what do I need to do to progress and make myself better at the minute? Not just to get a purple belt, but to get better as I was as a grappler. And then we were at training one day, and the end of training we all lined up, and coach was like, Benji, here's your purple belt. Benji's a mate of mine, big bloke. He got his purple belt, and as he walked, I was like, yeah. And I wasn't like crocodile smiling. I was like genuinely happy for him, but also in my head I was like, oh, I'm gonna get you now. And then my other mate, James, here's your purple belt. And I'm like, right, fucking James is dead now as well. I was like, right, I'm gonna get him. And then he was like, Bassett, and like chucked me a purple belt. And I was like, no way. And I genuinely had to like be like, right, don't cry, because I'm a bit emotional. And I got away with it luckily, but I was so happy, and I was genuinely in a really good mood for about 3 days. And like I said, it's just a bit of cloth, but it's recognition of your hard work and your blood, sweat, and sacrifice for getting better at something, and the time you put in. So yeah, it was good. I don't really think of myself as I don't think of myself as someone that doesn't do jiu-jitsu. Don't get me wrong, I'm not distancing myself from jiu-jitsu, but it's just mixed grappling now, isn't it? Especially in no-gi. So I look at it that I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, which is graded on both the gi and the no-gi. I prefer no-gi, but I do gi. I do gi because I think that I don't know who's the quote is attributed to, but resonated with me. And someone said, if you don't have gi jiu-jitsu, you have no jiu-jitsu. If you don't have no gi jiu-jitsu, you've got no jiu-jitsu. If you don't have jiu-jitsu with strikes, you've got no jiu-jitsu. So it's all very well being, if I said, look, I'm a half decent purple belt, but I don't do any gi. Well, I didn't want to be a guy that one day is a brown belt hopefully in the future or near future, whenever it is, that goes, oh yeah, I'm all right in no-gi, but I don't do any gi. Or, one of these people that's like saying about nerd assassins, okay, nails, don't punch me in the face, so I don't like it. So, I just want to be well-rounded. So I just started to look at what do I need to do to get better right now, not just at the things that I'm good at to be effective on the mats, but to have a better all-round understanding of jiu-jitsu. And even if it's stuff that you don't like say you're not a leg lock guy, the only way to not be leg locked by everybody is to understand leg locks and to defend them. And generally when you apparently this is like a principle that Simon Govern used to teach before it sort of got really big, is that he would teach the defense to a position, if it's a shoulder lock or an arm lock or whatever, for the whole session, at the end show you the attack for it. It's quite interesting because stuff that you don't like, even if it's not your thing, like say if it was triangles, I never used to like triangles. You need to understand how to defend a triangle, and then you get an appreciation for why it works, what not to do, what to do, and then you can understand how to employ it. And it might be that 5 or 10 years later, something changes, like the way someone showed me a way to shoot for triangles that Vanderlei and the guys at Shooter Box used to do. And it's like essentially like you're firing your leg through, so you're pushing one of the arms in, and you're not just putting your leg up and then trying to get a really nice sort of hinge over it. You're kicking past their ear like you're trying to kick their head 40 yards down the road, but missing it on purpose. And your hamstring thunders into their shoulder, and you get so deep. And it's like, there's the shock factor. It's like, the probably the only takedown I've ever attempted in a fight, and I was super tired. I butchered it, but John Jones' level change behind his jab. He flicks the jab out, so your eyes are drawn to that, and you level change behind a jab. Or even more effective if you land a jab. So if you're going for a triangle and you smash that foot through, missing the head, you're not trying to kick their head, but your hamstring smashes into their shoulders. Like, what the hell's happening? All of a sudden you're in a triangle. So so purple belt for me was really nice. It felt like you know, like I said, blue belt's acceptance and purple belt is maybe you're actually all right. Obviously, we all know that some days you go to the gym and you turn up feeling like you're all right, and you leave feeling like you're really good. And other days you drive home and, you know, you might be listening to some weepy tunes, crying your eyes out. That's jiu-jitsu, isn't it? You know, some days you're the hammer and some days you're the nail. And if it's not that way, you're either in the wrong place for the entirety of your training, or you're the best guy in the world. And there's only one guy that's that guy. So
yeah, it's awesome, mate. Well, congratulations again.
Yeah, and you, mate.
How have you found like the reception from training partners now you've got that purple belt? You feel like they're kind of coming at you a bit harder, or is it?
No.
The
only difference for me in how I felt was between white and blue, because I always felt a little bit odd as a white belt, as someone that trained for, you know, whether it was 10 years or not at the time, or whatever it was by the time I got my blue belt. But, you know, someone that was, yeah, a physical bloke, but I knew techniques and I could employ them and I could use them, you know, not like I'd go in and rinse all the brown belts, but I'd give the colour belts trouble. And I always felt like a bit of a fraud being a white belt at the time, even though that it wasn't like I didn't have the white belt mentality that, yeah, I am a white belt and I'm here to learn. I knew some stuff and I could use it. So it was a bit odd for me. And people go, oh, didn't you have a cage fight or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, I did, yeah. So that was a bit odd. And then when I got my blue, I was just like, well, there's some really good blue belts around. You know, some people just don't grade, or maybe I don't really get it when you've got like a world class blue belt that's sort of going around and doing whatever, and you're like, well, if you're that good, why you're a blue belt? I always found that a little bit odd, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, or reasons. But yeah, I didn't really notice a difference. Because I'm the way I am, I don't think a belt is going to make it more attractive for someone to put a sub on me, because when I was a white belt, I was still putting myself around, and I will always gob off, even if I know I'm about to get bummed by, you know, someone that I've got no business rolling with. Like, you know, I'll be like, oh, do you want to roll? And they're like, oh, I'm off. I'm like, oh yeah, good job for you. I was about to hammer you. I said it to a mate of mine last night, and he just walked on like dickhead. And I'll do that. And if he said, oh, I'll roll, I would have maintained the same energy, and I would have had no problem tapping when he got me, you know? So yeah, that's just the way I am. Yeah, no, I've not noticed a difference. It's quite funny, like when people get a blue belt and you say like, congratulations, you know, I look forward to wrist locking you. Everybody that down where we train goes like, Bassie's been wrist locking me for about 6 months. Because I'm just like, this is a wrist lock. And they're like, and you're like, I'm just showing you for your own good. Yeah. But it's not like I'm going around like pumping them on the trial class guys and injuring people. Like I've never, touch wood, I don't think I've never injured anyone with a wrist lock or anything like that. So I'm not that guy. Because we all like to joke about, like, I love the memes of like went to jiu-jitsu in a bad mood and beat up the trial class guy and felt great about myself. I'm not that guy. Saying that. Last night there was a guy on his first session and Mark was like, it's his first session, Bassy? And I was like, yeah, Roger, mate. And I was like really good. Rolled him in for ages, showed him a load of stuff. It was cool. But there was a guy that I didn't know it was his first session because I'm away a little bit. So come back, there's a few new faces. Big lad, much bigger than me. Looked like a rugby player or whatever. Quite young. And I'd done like 2 hours plus the open mat or whatever it was. I was knackered. And I was going to sit next to Mark, and this guy was looking for around. I went, I'll roll you if you want, mate. He goes, yeah, okay, cool. And he just goes, bam! And just forearm smashed me right in the face, right? And you know when instantly you know exactly what the damage report is? I was like, I knew that my bottom row of teeth had like created a big sort of cut and I could taste the blood, and I was like, right, okay. And I just like, I think the only thing I could attack was a leg lock or whatever that day. So it was Roger, so I just like steamrolled him, like still a little bit annoyed. Not being nasty, and then grabbed the footlock, and I wasn't going to pump it, but I steamrolled him with like the position, not being a dick. It wasn't dick moves or anything. And I didn't get into a rage. I was just like, right, okay, I'm going to be robust and direct now. Do everything right. Bang, 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 bang. Remembered I could only tap legs. Got the toe like that, looked at Mark, and he's like, him and me and mate Ash, they were just looking like that. Mark was like, no, tap, tappy tap. So I was like, yeah, Roger. So maybe for that night I was the guy that smashes the trial class guy, but I think if you don't know and you like, fair play to him. Like, and I got home and I didn't feel bad about it, but I was like, if that was out of context, that could sound really bad. So I messaged straight away and said, hey, look, can you reach out to the guy and tell him that I'm sorry if I was a little bit robust there in my physicality, but the reason was that smashed me in the mouth. Didn't realise. I know he was spazzing out. He's probably nervous, but forearm smashed me. Didn't apologise. And so,
mate, I think that was absolute self-preservation right there. I think that's absolutely fine.
Well, self-preservation would be just go, hey mate, not today, and walk off on it.
Maybe, but I think we've talked to enough people. Like Brandon Reed's a prime example, where if he feels like nervous energy from people, he just crushes them because he doesn't even want to risk another like toenail across the eyeball or anything.
Most dangerous guy on the mat. The guy with sharp toenails who's spazzing out. Yeah,
that's how I got Staph. That's how I got that. Some random first ever class said, don't put your thumb in the gi. And he was like, okay. Boom. Scratched me. Got Staph. Nearly killed me.
It's horrible, isn't it? And it's, people think when they knew that everybody's like, oh, these are the rules with cleanliness, please. They're like, oh, whatever. Because imagine you go to like whatever sport and they're like, oh, you got to do this. Like, oh, okay, cool. They just think it's one of those. They don't realise that it's because we don't want to be off training for 2 weeks with a...
Yeah, and it's the same with the spazziness thing. I know we all take a piss of spazzy white belts and that, but they are literally the only times I've really got badly injured or like hurt myself is when I've give good positions up, like let them pass my guard, and then they're trying to rake my arm or something. And I'm like,
yeah, same, mate. Same.
You know what I mean? Like just being nice. I don't do it anymore.
And it's the spazzy guys that you don't know. We've got a mate, Alex. Shout out to Alex. He's the spazziest white belt in our world. He's a blue belt now, in fairness, but he's a big lad as well. And we were laughing about it the other day. We were training about 6 months ago, and there's three of us training. So one sitting out, and then you rotate round with Alex and slap bump roll. And he just goes bang, palm strike me in the face. And I was like, I looked at Sean. He's having a round off, and Sean just looked at me like that. And I was like, oh no, here we go. And then, so I just I was like, whatever, okay. I just step back, let him get inside control, I'm just rolling. He elbows me. And I'm like, Alex, that's 2 now. Your third one is going to be instant death. And then he elbowed me again. And I got this side control escape that, I've got a couple of escapes that people will look at and they'll just go, that's rubbish. Like one's like, so you're inside control and you reach up like this and then pull their head down. So you get the down pressure there. And then if you can get your arm in underneath, it's almost like as if you're going to go for the, what's it called, the ghost escape or whatever, you know. What's the version of ghost escape that's slightly better? It's like another word for ghost.
Ghoul? Phantom?
Might be the phantom. There's a version of it that's slightly better. It's essentially the same escape.
I think I've seen what you're about to say. Do you like do that, go under and then bridge?
So go under, I bridge and I look over that shoulder.
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
And it's like that. And it works both ways as well. And I like it because it's a fundamental, there's a fundamental reason why it works really well. And you can apply that to different things. And that's, like I said, about when you understand the fundamentals of stuff and why it's interesting to me. I'm like, well, it's not just me being, because people were saying for ages it was just me being strong, just going and benching them off, which it isn't. It's that, and you're doing an effective bridge by bringing your feet up as close underneath you as you can. And then I think it's a Henzo Gracie thing that I got off a video when he was saying when he's bridging, he's not just bridging with that nice technique where your feet are really close underneath you. He's getting onto his shoulders, like, you know, when you go fast down a water slide and you get onto your shoulders and your heels, he's like that. But if he's going that way, he's looking over that way. So your spine is ergonomically giving you an advantage. So it's all those things at the same time, but you can do that. And if people know that you're going to do that, one of the things they'll do is they'll base out. But in their effort to base out is they leave a little bit of space. So when you're going to go underneath, you've already tucked the head there. There's a bit of space here. And you can just, so you've got their head trap there. You can punch choke them from the bottom. But they will give you the sweep, but you can ride them into the top. And you can also bring your leg, I call it the concertina. You can bring your leg in, so you can bring your hip flexor into the punch as well. It's really good.
And this is what you did to the lad, was it?
So I did it to Alex. And he's about 95 kilos at the time, quite a big lad. And the wall was just here. And so it was like his feet were stuck by the wall like that. So I got him over, and because he'd annoyed me, he's a mate of mine, but he had annoyed me. I got him up level, and he tapped, and I was like, nope. I kept the punch take off for like a second, and then rolled him out of it. And I was like, that's for the elbow and that's for the 2 elbows and the slap. And he was like, mangled. But it's a lovely little technique. So.
It's tough love though, mate. It's like, I think sometimes people need reminding to be a bit mindful of their training partners. And at least if you're doing it in a controlled way, it's a safe lesson.
I've been one of them at times, you know. I know like people said like can't, because we used to, there's a time and a place for it as well. When we used to train in mate's garage, it used to be 3 of us. And I was saying about this the other day. Came around at the perfect time for me because I was still young enough to recover from it. And the 3 of us would just go into my mate's garage. It was padded. So, you know, a room smaller than this, padded on all sides. We'd literally bounce each other off the walls, like bang, bang, side to side, and then you get a takedown, and it was just rough. But I couldn't do that now because I just wouldn't get the recovery. But at the time, well, I was saying at the time, my neck was basically fused for about 18 months from getting neck attacked every day because I was leaving. Rugby teaches you, 20 years of rugby teaches you to tackle with your head to one side. And then you go to jiu-jitsu and you're sticking your head to the side. They're just like, thanks very much. Because I'm not tapping to my mates, I'm like just surviving these guillotines. I'm shrugging for like a minute or whatever. It's no good for you, is it?
No, not good at all,
but,
mate.
But we would try and have that energy in that training area, and then you go to like, you know, another class or whatever, and maybe you're bringing your own energy. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps, mate. What's your preferred way of training? Like everything you described just sounds like scrapping and like garage jits type rolling. And there's obviously,
I do love it.
But we've had like let's not get into this for too long. But we've obviously had loads of discussions recently about different training modalities and methods like drilling, ecological training, you know, and everything in between. Like, do you, like being a slightly older gentleman, do you have an appreciation for
what
maybe certain types
of...
I can say it because I'm fucking right next to him, mate. But
yeah, so I was 100% we were just doing garage jiu-jitsu and scrapping, right? And I can remember saying to a friend of mine who's he like trains like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and he goes, "Oh, when do you drill?" And I was like, "No, we never drill." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "I didn't get classes or anything." And then when I started actually drilling, rather than just sort of techniques that you go to a class and you have to drill because you're being taught, like, oh, I'd like to get this in my repertoire. And the only way to get something into your repertoire is to practice it so you get the movement so it's somewhat familiar. And then I think for me anyway, at least, is to do it correctly, and then do it in rolling and have some success. And then the penny drops a little bit and it's in your head as something that you can do in that situation. So that was good for me. The ecological thing is quite interesting. I don't know if a lot of the controversy or the debate about it is because engagement is what brings success for influencers. And so obviously anything that's slightly taboo, if you can talk on that topic, you know, I know that when I put some posts up of a technique video, which I felt really odd doing first off as a blue belt, because you're like, who the hell am I to be putting technique videos up? I was like, I like this, it's really good. People were like, oh yeah, it's cool. And then I put one up with like a meme on it and it got like 10 times more engagement because people like the meme and then they stick around for technique and like, oh, that's horrible. I'm like, yeah, thanks very much. So yeah, like I said, the other day I was a bit knackered and a mate texted me and said, "Do you want to come and train?" I was like, "I've got to be careful of my knee. I don't know what I've done to it yet." And he goes, "Oh, just come down and we'll do a bit of this Kit Dale stuff." And I was like, "What is it?" He's like, "Oh, it's just games." And I meant to send him a photo of like a Warhammer because he paints Warhammers. And I was like, "Oh, you get your toys out." But so we did like a bit of hand fighting and a bit of stuff from, I like a lot of it makes a lot of sense. Like he was saying like, when you're trying to get past someone's feet in a guard, it's like, don't think about the feet, think about passing the thighs, because once you control the thighs, it's pretty much game over for passing the guard. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And then when you actually look at it, you're like, wow. But it doesn't, you know, until someone says that, you're like, I hadn't really thought about it that way. I think a lot of it as well is how certain people like training. I could watch a 2-hour video from anybody and take about 30 seconds of information from it. I can watch an Instagram video that I like of a technique because it's a short video by definition of where it is. It's going to be condensed into something palatable that I may or may not be able to digest and use or learn. So that works for me. Even if you showed me, if you two were now doing a technique and you did it on Danny, I have to go and stand like with the same physical aspect of the coach so that I can just tell which arm he's doing it with. Because if you were showing me I do this with you, I'm like, that's your left arm, this is my right arm. I can't do it. My body doesn't work that way. So I have to watch it, butcher it, because my brain wanders off and I'm thinking about flying knees or whatever. It's like the joke where we train, like, he's like, you got it? I'm like, no. He's like, what are you thinking about? I'm like, flying knees. I can't help it. But yeah, I have to like do it, mess it up, do it. Think I've got it. And then I get a little bit of, maybe that's in there now. And then if it suits me and suits my game, I manage to implement it, then it's in there. But yeah, I can't just watch it and learn it. Very jealous of people who can do that. So I think all this sort of debate is more of a question of what's your personal style of learning, or, and I think that's more important than anything else, because if you know your personality type and you know how you learn, then you can pretty much define what techniques you want to learn and what style of teaching is going to work for you and who you can learn from. Yes, that's where I am with that. I generally watch, like I said, 20-year-old videos of Eric Paulson and Baz Rutten. Have you seen like when Baz Rutten did the essentially same position like Kezugitami, and he reaches over on Funaki and he gets his outside leg? So essentially he's got the head there onto his hip flexor, reaches over the other one. He doesn't bring his hand.
And crunches them.
Yeah, so it's like you don't bring your hand to your hip flexor, you bring your hip flexor to your hand, and then you squeeze. And you're not like just squeezing like a bodybuilder, you're just waiting for like a boa constrictor. So they've got to breathe out at some point. When they breathe out, you squeeze. It's so good.
Have you done it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course he has.
You can't, mate, I stuck it on Instagram the other day, actually. Everyone was like, you dirty bastard. I love it. It's so good. You're not going to get that on everybody, but it's so fun when you get that on someone you know and you're like, how does that feel, bro?
I was thinking earlier when you mentioned like catch a little bit earlier, and you said something which I wanted to come back to, and that's a good segue in. But like as jiu-jitsu evolves, there's definitely like with any kind of cognition where there's a degree of space making for new information to need to go in. And I think there's definitely something in like really old school techniques actually working because people have long forgotten them.
Because so look at when jiu-jitsu exploded onto the scene, largely thanks to UFC and Royce Gracie and what he did. So everyone was like, jiu-jitsu is better than wrestling. And then the wrestlers adapt, right? And then they learn jiu-jitsu, or they learn how to counter jiu-jitsu. And then wrestling's arguably the most dominant aspect of MMA, arguably, for throughout the entire history of it. And I know that's contentious in itself, but so to say, and those wrestlers, well, they're not just pure wrestlers. They're wrestlers that are understanding and implementing, or at least defending against the BJJ guys. And the BJJ guys now have to know wrestling, because if they don't know wrestling, look at how the difference between, MMA for US and UK fighters with wrestling. Now that's different now to how it was 10 years ago, and far different to how it was 20 years ago. There's a lot of half decent wrestlers now coming out of the UK. Obviously there's a big difference if you look at the general population. Most blokes I think in America know how to wrestle a little bit. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you look at like most blokes in the UK, maybe we've got a different mentality because everybody in the UK thinks they're Andy, don't they? Like every lad will be like, you're like, oh, you look at dickhead. They're like, everyone thinks they're hard, don't they? Everyone has a little bit in them. Maybe that's because we're from a, warrior ancestry, or maybe it's just because we're islanders and that's what we're like. But it's cultural as well, isn't it?
It is cultural, mate. Yeah. I think that was the big, I've said it a few times, but that was the big wake up call for me, going from like being a pisshead footballer thinking I'm fucking hard, and then going in and getting tapped out by a girl. Well,
I used to, when I was younger, I was, like I said, I was really small, and then I was really small, really skinny, but I was the guy that didn't like being small and skinny. If you said anything, I'd bang out for it, mega insecure. So
little man syndrome, yeah.
Projecting strength, right? I was that guy, and then I got taller, and I was like not short anymore, and I was just skinny. But then I was super keen, and I was, I would always be scrapping in rugby, or when we're out in youngsters or in pubs and clubs or whatever. If you're up for it, I was up for it, and we'd be scrapping. And then when I learned to actually fight, I had a couple of fights within a week. Like I said, a lot younger. I couldn't walk away from it. It wasn't my problem. It wasn't my fight. Didn't cause it. I whacked a guy, and it was a peach, and it was like, when you hit someone so clean and it's like you haven't even made contact, you're like, but he's on the deck and he's unconscious. You're like, and then within the same week, just because we're youngsters and we're out and that, this guy was off his head on drugs and he was gobbing off. And then I was like, whatever, mate, go home. And he insulted all my family, spat at me. I dropped him, and I was like, now I know how to throw a punch, and now I know my timing's good. I don't need to do this anymore. And I think I've probably hit one person, in the 15 or 20 years since, however long ago it was, I don't know, 15 years maybe. Because you're like, right, I don't need to do that anymore. And you're generally able to walk away from that stuff or remove yourself from the situation before it kicks off. So yeah, it's quite interesting. What you are and what you perceive influences your reality, and you get that with everything. I don't know how we got onto that.
Yeah, I don't, mate.
Not even one beer in.
Literally, as you were wrapping it up, I was like, how the fuck did we end up here? Yeah, I don't know. Who knows, mate?
I don't know.
But we were talking about, I think, the sort of old techniques.
Yes.
And then you were talking about sort of wrestling and the English versus American wrestling.
Yeah, we got to culture.
And then you went on your tangent about English being dickheads.
Islanders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not dickheads. Yeah, the old techniques, because everyone learns the answer to the question, and then the answer to the question is a different question, and it will happen again because now MMA used to be, let's see who's the best at fighting, but then as more rules come in, this is the argument all like the Krav and the Casey and the Jeet Can Do guys use. I'm not allowed to do that in a cage. It's like, all right, okay, cool. Yeah, you don't actually spar 100% either, do you, Nobed?
Mate, those Muck Dojo memes, mate,
so good,
they are just like, if I see one of them, they are the highlight of my fucking day.
Have you seen the little assault course they're all doing?
Oh, yeah.
The guy keeps tripping over the ladder.
Oh, no, I have. Mate, with the ponytail, and he stands. Mate, I was like, how? I don't know. I don't understand. They must be taking the piss. They can't be serious, mate.
They can't like it. I've met people like it.
They can't be serious.
Met people like it, mate. They're real. They're real people, mate.
And it's like as well, because you don't want to be like people go like, oh, you've been doing jiu-jitsu. It's like that meme as well. Another meme. Because in jiu-jitsu, you must be really good. And you're like, you go, I'm a purple belt. Oh, you've been doing that for ages, haven't you? What level you know? I'm a purple belt. They go, how many are there? Like, there's white, blue, purple, brown, black. Oh, so you're like midway. Oh, okay. And you can tell they're like this. And then like my daughter came home from school and she goes, my friend's a black belt. I went, really? I thought, why is she talking to older people? I'm like, who are you talking to? Like, my dad had on. She goes, no, my friend at school. I'm like, how old is she? She goes, 12. I went, well, she's got a black belt in. I knew it was either taekwondo, aikido, or karate, right? So she came, I don't know what the answer to was, and I was like, well, and my missus is looking at me, and I'm like, I'm not going to say it's worthless. She's worked hard for it, and it's good that she's dedicated herself to it, and she's been recognised for her achievement. That's good. I said, but really not worth anything fighting wise. Literally like, but it's a black belt. I'm like,
it's very different.
Right, you can't get a black belt in jiu-jitsu when you're 12, right? If you can get a black belt when you're 12, it's worth nothing. Then it goes into like the argument. Who was it the other day? Was it like Jeff Glover or someone like that was saying that jiu-jitsu black belts are worthless now and this and that? And it's like, well, what were they ever worth really if you're going to look at it like that? Because you go, look, I'm the best guy in the world at jiu-jitsu, and then someone comes along and he goes, well, I'm a top level kickboxer, I have one of these, and then they have to be something else because just jiu-jitsu doesn't work for that anymore. So it's always changing, it's always developing, and like I said, these old school techniques that people forget about because everything moves on. We've got to learn how to leg lock now, and then the whole world goes from like, leg locks are dirty, or no, leg locks are always in jiu-jitsu, we just didn't do them, to everybody having to know leg locks, and then everybody's always working on that, and then something else come along that everybody then has to, it gets in vogue and becomes the zeitgeist, and everyone's like, right, kid, that's the thing, and everybody forgets about something else, and then that gets remembered, and it evolves, doesn't it? So,
yeah. Another thing we were chatting to Stephen Henshaw about, who runs Ikigai,
yeah.
was you won't see it so much with high level competitors perhaps, and I know this is something that John Danaher does with his guys to mitigate this, but it's when you get like a really good practitioner, black belt, whatever, and they've got, I don't know, a very good guard, and they've not had their guard passed in their club for 3 years.
Yeah.
Which also means they probably haven't been in mount or side control or had their back taken for 3 years.
Or working from bad position.
Exactly. And then they get really effective at this new stuff, but actually those fundamentals that got them through the coloured belts are actually, you know, they're still effective, they're still very good, but are a little bit rusty. And actually, if they get put there against someone who's good in those positions, they really struggle. So that's something that's interesting as well, I thought.
Yeah, that's something as well that I've been working on going forward, is like, I like to work from bad positions, is just as well, because when I'm like rolling with really good guys, I'm in a bad position, so I may as well like it. But, you know, I will let, much to some people's frustration, like when I'm rolling, I will let like white belts just pass my guard into side control just so I can do my fun side control escape. You know? Like tell people when you're rolling with like a blue belt or whatever, you mates with, you're like, oh, you just passed there, did you? Oh, I really didn't want you to go there. Oh, you know what I'm about to do, and then you do it, and like it's just so much fun in it. But yeah, try not to be in bad positions, because I think you can't really be a brown belt that's just crap at not getting in bad positions. So yeah, that's something I've been working on as well. Yeah.
No, it's good. I think it's something we've talked about introducing in our sessions, but John Danaher, I think, pretty much starts every roll at Roka from either, I think, mount or back.
Yeah.
And it serves two purposes, but the guys obviously get really good at defending those positions, but in turn, the guys get really good at attacking those positions, because the guys are getting so good at defending those positions. Yeah. So it creates this like really like good feedback loop.
And it's, I think as well, like rather than getting weighed down with like a plethora of like options to use from a bad position, like have one that you go to that you get really good at, and then maybe attacking's the wrong word, trying to implement that certain defense. There's this one or this one that you can use as your, you know, plan B, plan C. But have one thing you're really good at, and you know, I don't know if you can shit on that or not, but what did Roger Gracie do? He had the one thing, he was unstoppable, wasn't he? So, and you'll find something that works for you, and you may as well find something that works for you and you like doing, get really good at it, and then understanding how to implement that fundamentally will allow you to do everything else.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's those things, isn't it, that you got to just work on all the time, isn't it?
You got to do the things you like because it keeps you in, and you got to do the things you suck at.
You just got to narrow it down sometimes as well with jiu-jitsu. I think too many people worry about too many different things, and if you strip it all back, it's fundamentally pretty easy, jiu-jitsu. It's such a weird, complicated sport, but it can be as simple.
Well, when you understand how everything works, it's essentially simple. Like what you're trying to do is simple. There might be a convoluted process of ways that you might pick this up or get to it, but that 2 or 3 things you do at the end of the move, you might find yourself in that exact position. So you're just trying to get to that point where you can attack that or defend it or whatever. I think of defense as attacks in a way, if that makes sense, because you're trying to do the same thing. So yeah,
it's just pathways, mate. And I always think of a pathway, you know, when you explain it to a white belt, like when they're like, what's the goal here? It's like, well, we want to pass a guard, side control, mount, take the back and choke you out. So effectively, no matter how good you get, you know, that pathway's always there. And then if you just narrow it down to those sort of specific points and movements, you know, as people get better, they block you going into mount, so you got to go north-south, and then you got to trap an arm, and then you got to do this. But effectively, you're still just trying to move through those positions. And if you break it down simply to that position, those positions, and work on your weaknesses, I think that's the best way to like navigate through jiu-jitsu.
What's cool as well is when you do stuff that you don't want to do because you don't like the technique or you don't like that way of doing it or whatever it is, sometimes the things that you don't like actually become some of your favorite things to do.
I completely agree. Yeah, there's some things sometimes, mate, I'll think, I'm never going to use this, and then then I'm shown it a bit, and I'm like, actually, like I can use this because I do this.
Maybe this will go in there somewhere.
Yeah, fun games, mate. Right, we said about an hour. It's been about 2, so let's wrap this up. Before we do, mate, if people are still with us listening, just remind them where to buy your shit, mate.
I don't sell any shit. I just sell excellent quality products. www.mrbassets.com. We've got a spicy Instagram full of stolen memes, and that's pretty much it at the minute. But yeah, mrbassets.com. yeah, that's where to go.
Nice. Pleasure, mate. Thanks for coming back to see us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.